studio audience. Tremendous to see so many people here. Well, today, Britain was attacked by a rabid, far-left, pro-Palestine mob. Palestine Action broke into RAF Brize Norton, spray-painted a British military plane. Well, it's the same Palestine Action who've done stuff like this before as well, breaking into warehouses, damaging property. They're a menace, basically, aren't they? And Keir Starmer refused to name the problem, OK, put a tweet out. He thinks that breaking into a British military site and damaging a plane that was apparently next to the one that our royal family sometimes fly in is just a bit of vandalism. That's what it is. Just a little bit of vandalism. That's what it is. Nigel Farage, however, thinks it's terrorism and that they should be classed as terrorists. Robert Jenrick appears to think exactly the same. So, should Palestine Action really be banned as a terrorist group? Well, in the last few hours, it appears that it might be happening. So they are set, according to reports, they are set to be proscribed. Slight problem this, because Keir Starmer must be doing this through gritted teeth, right? Because it turns out, just a little bit of digging, he defended an activist who broke into an RAF base to set fire to an aircraft, right? Starmer argued that it was because he wanted to stop a war crime. If he'd have won that case, which thankfully he didn't, but if he had won that case, what happened today would have been perfectly legal, right? It's interesting, isn't it? Because when you look at events like this and others, normally, somewhere along the line, either our Prime Minister or his mate, the Attorney General, have represented the wrong one, haven't they? But there we go. Let's go over to my panel now and my live studio audience. Again, just want to get a feeling for the room. So, most people in here, do you think that Palestine Action should basically be classed as terrorists? Yes. Is that where we're at? OK, well, I'll start with you, Christo. Are they terrorists, this lot, do you think?
I think if any group that is protesting crosses over into violence in an organised manner in the way in which they have, then they are a terrorist group. I have no issue with someone wanting to protest because they're angry about what is happening in Israel and Gaza. You may agree, you may disagree, but that is what we're allowed to do in this country. But I think if you consistently do that, as they have regularly, including acts of violence, that then crosses over into the definition of a terror group. It's simple.
Jane, your views?
Yeah, no, absolutely. If you attack a member of our armed forces or a military facility, you attack every person in this room and every person in this country. Those men and women are not politicians. They are the wrong people to be protesting at. And the protocols that will have kicked into action means weapons would have come out. Those people were at risk of being injured or killed. Live weapons will have been used. And I'm just glad that none of our service personnel was injured, but they should be proscribed group. They're a menace to society. They're traitors.
And also, can we talk about the security breach?
Well,
I mean, imagine that it was actually a terror group that had much more ill intent, as in wanting to attack the base, you know, with weapons or anything else. It's absolutely staggering. They got in so easily.
Well, it is, and out again as well. And we're going to go to my audience. The first question, is it Eddie? Yeah. Where are you from, Eddie?
Yeah, Eddie. I'm from Newbury in Berkshire.
Lovely part of the world. What did I say, Eddie?
Yeah. What I'd like to say is these pro-Palestine activists now, they've gone too far with what they've done at Brize Norton. They should be done for terrorism, because that's what it is. And quite frankly, with all these pro-Palestine marches and demonstrations in London, most of the British public have had enough of it now. They need to go and wave their Palestine flags in Palestine. We've just had enough of it. If I was to go to Westminster now and wave a Union Jack or the St George's Cross or whatever, yeah, I would be done for it. There'd be criticism and everything. Yeah. And the other thing, as the gentleman said, about the security at Brize Norton, that needs to be addressed as well. They should never have got on the runway. I mean, I've got home security at home, and since I've been up here even tonight, there's like, even if a cat goes on my garden, bang, an alert goes off. So what's happening with the security at Brize Norton? That needs to be addressed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, also, as well, to be fair, I mean, countries like Iran or whoever are going to be looking at that and thinking, if it's that easy to get onto a British military base, then we are bang in trouble. Thank you very much, sir.
No
well
worries.
done. Barry, I'm going to put this to you now. So, would you think that they should be a proscribed terrorist group? It seems like they are going to be.
Look, they're clearly criminals. They've done criminal damage. They've trespassed on a restricted base, military base. I don't know that they terrified anyone. and I don't know that any of their activities in the past has been designed to terrorise individuals. So I don't think it's been violence against individuals. Now, I don't have...
breaking into a British military base is terrorism, just to be clear.
On its own, I remember the women of Greenham Common about 40 years ago broke onto the base then. I don't think anybody was going to call them terrorists. They were activists. They were peace activists. But
the people on the base didn't know what these people were going to do.
They've also smashed up businesses and done all of things like that.
And they're criminals. For doing that, they're criminals. There's no question about it. If the Home Secretary, who I understand is looking at it at the moment, says that fits our definition of terrorism as under the legislation, then fine. But I do think we need to just distinguish the fact, as Christo was saying, that they have a right to protest, but they must do it peacefully and within the law.
Okay. Go on, come back.
Our planes, mate.
They've
attacked our planes.
It's a criminal offence.
It's more than a criminal offence. It's terrorism. Those planes now have got to go out of service. We're having all this going on in the Middle East at the moment. Those planes have got to go out of service. And they've got to, be stripped. Their engines have all got to be checked and stuff.
Absolutely.
And that's going to cost, the taxpayer as well, isn't it?
But that in itself is not causing terror amongst people. Terrorism is, you know what we usually define as terrorism. When somebody goes onto the streets with a knife or a gun and starts shooting indiscriminately, we all say, that's terrorism. It's violence against the person because it's designed to spread fear, alarm and terror. That's
and I live by Greenham Common. And I remember the peace women up there. I don't remember them attacking or damaging planes.
Actually,
I don't remember that.
They broke through the wall and they started hammering on top of
I suppose the concern is if they're willing to do this now on top of the things they've already done, then what are they going to do next? Is it best to nip it in the bud? I am at pains to stress that in 2004, when our now dear Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer represented a man who did something very similar, he, of course, had to do it because of the cab rank rule, and we need to make that very clear. However, is that actually a massive problem, Charlie, that the Prime Minister has represented people like this?
Well, him and his friend Lord Hermer seem to consistently side with all the enemies of Britain. But with that being said, I mean, I broadly agree with everything that's been said about Palestine Action so far. Some debate show this is. But I do also think that this organisation does actually have a point, OK? Because what they protest is Britain's involvement in the war in the Middle East. And I personally agree with that. I don't think we should be involved. And I do think that there are some hideous war crimes taking place in Gaza right now. And I think the idea that the British states should be supporting financially and with arms some war in Iran between Israel and Iran.
Politicians, not armed forces personnel. That's very...
Sure, no, I agree with that. But what Palestine Action has done by engaging in the activities that they have is they have made that cause look illegitimate because they have engaged in criminal activity to try and push their cause, which actually I think as a whole does the movement and the cause damage.
Is there anyone else, just to say, is there anyone else who would like to make a point on this? If you do want to, wave your hand up, we'll try and get the microphone over to you in a second. But Christo, you made the point there as well about this. The fact is, this is a massive security breach. We have been embarrassed here. That is a prime military base, a very important military base, and people who were basically on e-bikes and scooters were able to just wander in, do what they did in the dead of night, and then get out of there as well. Remarkable.
And also just get so close to the planes and do what they wanted to them. I mean, what if they'd gone in and got out and done something to the planes which no one had noticed? Those planes were then used. It's absolutely catastrophic. But I do disagree with the gentleman on the front row because I get it. It's really, really irritating every single weekend when you see a lot of these protests constantly. However, that is part and parcel of people's democratic right to protest. And as long as they're not being violent or inciting violence, we have to stomach it. It's when they disrupt you going about your business, act in a violent manner or vandalise stuff, that's when it crosses
There's also
the
a
line.
slightly two-tier aspect to it as well, Jane, I think, which is that if people were for some kind of like quotes-unquote Patriots March and they were wandering down the street and they were saying things that could be deemed as racist or supporting a far-right terror group, I've got no doubt that the police would go in there and lift them. Whereas what we tend to see most every other weekend or whenever a lot of the pro-Palestine lot happen is exactly that behaviour and very few arrests.
Probably, and I still remember in lockdown we had the Black Lives Matter protests and the police were so light on it. We had members of the Labour Party going out and joining the protest, which was against the rules that we'd all passed.
The Prime Minister photographed taking the knee as well.
Yes. Yeah, but I think you're right. But I think in this case...
Can I just...
Yeah, go on.
I've just remembered that actually in going onto a restricted site like the base is an offence under the Protection Against Terrorism Act.
Right.
So in that sense, because if you go onto Parliament illegally and break into Parliament, that also is under the Offences Against Terrorism. So I think, strictly speaking, yes, they probably are terrorists.
OK, fair enough. We'll see. But I did also. Oh, there you go. Well, bet you're upset you booed him at the start now, aren't you? But,
Save that applause, Barry. You won't get another one.
OK, all right. I'm being told that we have to break. Unfortunately, I'm sorry.